guys, welcome to another episode of Showtime Goones. Today, Fernando and I, we talked to a very good friend of his.
Yeah, and well, before we talk about my good buddy Luis, can't believe it. It's been quite a few episodes now, and we're still pumping them out, Berto. I'm surprised that we haven't quit.
Yeah, we're still coming up with this grade A material.
Yeah, grade A. Still haven't got into a B level, but
Okay.
People will see it eventually. So anyway,
Yeah.
so today we have my friend Luis, who I met during our university years, and he studied mechanical engineering and eventually got a job at NASA JPL. And so he's gonna just talk to us about his struggles and how he got there and the type of work that he does. So I'm pretty sure a lot of our viewers and listeners will enjoy this interview.
Enjoy it.
So, hey, Luis, welcome to our show. We're called Showtime Goones. Showtime Goones, as far as the eye can see. So yeah, we want to interview you, let our viewers know what you're all about and how you got to where you got to and your struggles and whatnot. So, Berto, why don't we get started?
Okay. So let's talk about you. Tell us, where did you go to school? Where did you grow up? Maybe some of the struggles that you encountered through your journey.
Yeah, for sure. So I grew up in South Central LA. My parents were both immigrants. My mom was from Mexico, and my mom is from Mexico, and my dad is from Honduras. My mom in Mexico, she's from Guerrero, and she's from very close to the capital of that state, Iguala, in a small town nearby there. And my dad is from Olancho, Salama, which is a small town in the state of Olancho. I started off in elementary school right there by USC, Vermont Elementary School, and then went to middle school over by Audubon Middle School, which is near the Crenshaw area, which is where I kind of spent most of my life after pretty much most of my life. It's been in that West Adams district.
So is it true that growing up in that area, we have a friend that grew up in South Central, and he was saying that right after school he would try to get home before it gets dark?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, yeah, you definitely gotta think about that. And I always because I lived locally and I was going to school locally, once I started taking the bus, that started being more of an issue, right? Because I went to high school at Westchester High School, and so that was more or less a 1 hour bus ride or so, 45 minutes depending on the traffic. And so I'd have to get up super early in the morning and then get home somewhere around 5 o'clock usually, or 5:30, and start getting dark. But you learn to grow up in the area. You learn what's going on, and how to stay out of trouble.
But what are some of the encounters that you faced?
Honestly, my parents were really helpful in that respect. They were very good at kind of shielding me from that. I mean, it's hard to shield yourself from everything that goes on there, right? I literally I saw people get punched in the face, and the guy's literally just bleeding there, and I'm oh shit. Just keep going. There's but it's things like that sometimes other people have never experienced, and then the limited economic prospects, right, that you often encounter from growing up in that area. And so I always in middle school, actually, I really liked mythology, Greek mythology, and then that kind of transformed into Roman mythology. And then the Roman mythology, they're all named after celestial objects. A lot of the gods are, and so that kind of got me into space. And then one of my buddies in music class was really into airplanes, and so he brought in an airplane book, and then I was okay, I got to figure out how to do this, because my dad was a mechanic, and so I was okay, maybe I could work like assembling these things, or like being like a airplane mechanic. And then I started doing some research. Like this was like back in the day, you know, remember when you'd have the free internet, net zero?
Yeah.
And you get the internet with all the freaking ads all over the place.
Yeah.
And I went online and I was like, okay, how do I get to work on airplanes? Like, what do I have to do to work on airplanes? And then I found out, like, okay, an aircraft technician. All right, I could be an aircraft technician. All right, that's something that I felt like I was very capable of doing, right? Because my dad was a mechanic, and I was like, okay, my dad's a mechanic, like, you know, car, airplane, can't be too different. Can't be too different. And so but then I kept digging in there, and then it's like, okay, you could also be an aerospace engineer, and then you work like designing these planes and like coming up with like all the new novel ways of like, you know, aircraft design and you know, a stealth fighter, like, you know, those kind of like sexy things that you could work on in aerospace. And so I was like, okay, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be an aerospace engineer. So kind of from like 7th grade, I really knew that's what I wanted to do. And that's why I went to Westchester, actually, because it was called I was part of the magnet program back like in elementary school. Like I actually, when I started elementary school, they put me in ESL class because they thought that I didn't speak English, because my parents only spoke Spanish. And they totally just assumed like, oh, this guy, he obviously doesn't speak English. And so, and then
don't worry, they do the same. They do the same thing now. Like, I think they asked me, "Oh, you want to put your daughter in ESL?" And I was like, "No, she doesn't need to. Like, she's good."
Yeah, and they put me in ESL, and they regretted it because like I was just a troublemaker, right? Because I knew English and I knew Spanish. Like, I think I knew Spanish better than the teacher, and so
you were there correcting her.
And so I got in trouble with like the teacher and like everything. They even sent me to a psychologist, like that.
Oh my gosh!
Like that I had like ADHD and something. And, like they were about to like start medicating me, and my mom was like, "Nah, you know, because she's like old school Mexican, you know, like, nah, le voy a dar té de algo or something." You know? Yeah. It's like I always joke around that my mom, she's like, she'd always be like, "Hey, tómate esto," and then I'd be like, "¿Qué es?" And then she's like, "No sé, pero me dijeron que es bueno."
Yeah, I remember when I was young, and we would get hurt. My mom would go and pull like these weeds out of the ground, and she'd put it like in this water and like rub it on you and stuff. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it's like, what is this?
Hey, but it worked, right? That's the beauty of it. Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of yeah. And so in elementary school, I got put in ESL, but they fixed that. They got me out, put me in the regular classes. And I actually I was put into like a 4th and a 5th grade class for 4th grade. And because I would finish the 4th grade work so quickly, the teacher would give me all the 5th grade work, and then I'd do that work as well. And then they actually skipped me a grade, so they decided to skip me 5th grade. Because I had already done all the material and I already knew everything. So I actually started kinder early just because of my age. So in LUSD, if you're born by a certain date, you can actually start going to like kinder in like when you're 4 years old or something like that.
Oh,
and
cool.
So I was actually able to start really young. Or maybe it might be 5, but I was able to start super young, and so I got that, and I was able to skip a grade. So I ended up graduating high school at like 16.
Dude, that's did that benefit you? Because now you're kind of ahead. You know, you're able to go to college a little bit quicker. You start working a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I mean, there was some pluses. There's pluses and minuses to it. I would definitely say that, right? I mean, because I kind of feel like I wish I had stayed back a little bit, right? Because you're forced to like grow up a lot faster. And you don't really get to enjoy like being, you know, a young person. Like I felt like a lot of pressure almost immediately, and so I mean it worked out, but you know, it's yeah, I think that those are the drawbacks of it. I mean, the cool part is that, you know, I was able to start college early, and I didn't really feel like I was pressured to finish in 4 years or anything. And so I took my time and I did it in 5, just to like, cause especially with engineering, all the credits you have to take, it's just,
Yeah,
ridiculous.
It's
tough-load.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to do it in 4 years. It is.
So you're obviously a very smart guy. Are you the guy that kind of just picked up everything naturally, or did you really have to hit the books and study about it?
So the thing was like so when I was in high school, I took a lot of AP classes. I took like the AP calculus. I did the AB part, and I actually passed the test. And I was like, I could have not taken calculus, and I think a couple of other classes. But I was like, I decided to like, nah, screw it. I'll retake the classes just to make sure that I understand the material well.
Yeah.
And so like when I did calculus in college, I already knew a lot of the material, and it was just a lot of review for me. And so I think it helped me out a lot, in that it allowed me to build kind of like a strong base for the math, and so once I got to like the higher course loads, I could always draw on like, you know, just going back to like basics.
Yeah, and it's so important in engineering to really understand the math. You know?
Yeah.
They load you up with like almost a dozen courses of math classes, right? So it's for a reason.
Especially now,
the physics and, you know, everything.
Yeah, but especially now that I've like, and one of the other things, so I got really into aerospace engineering, but I decided to do mechanical engineering because a college teacher came and spoke at my high school, and he was a mechanical engineering like professor, and he told me, you know, you should do mechanical engineering because it gives you more options. Like if you want to do aerospace, like you could go do aerospace, but if you don't want to do aerospace, you could go work on something else. You know, you could go work like building chairs or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, that makes sense. That makes sense.
I think you know, now that you mentioned that, one of our friends, he did an internship with a company that does the walls for the bathroom stalls. And he's like, yeah, what we did, we went to Universal Studios and we tested the walls. I was like, okay, cool. So you're right. With mechanical engineering, you do have that flexibility to like just really do anything.
Yeah, it's like, what do you want to work in? Like, are you really into like designing shoes or something? You want to like work, like make a machine that builds shoes, you know?
Yeah, that's true. Cool.
So
and go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh no, yeah. So you studied mechanical engineering.
Yeah.
And then so somewhere in there.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You
I was gonna say, so you graduated as a mechanical engineer. Did you start working right at JPL right off the bat, or?
So I actually started before I graduated. So I got an internship. I was able to get an internship in November of 2007. So like my junior year, more or less, third year.
And I remember that. I think I remember the occasion when you talked to the recruiter, Luis, because I walked into the Cesar Chavez Center for Higher Education at Cal Poly Pomona, and Luis was like, hey, Fernando, I know you're studying aerospace engineering. A NASA JPL recruiter just walked in here, and I had a full-on conversation with him, and I think I might get a job. Like, I was like, oh, what the hell, man? And you sure did. So
because it was just random. Like, I think it was a career fair that day as well.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And so what I really wanted to do was get a job like at Northrop or like Boeing or Lockheed, because I was like, okay, I want to go like design airplanes and like do that. And so I gave out my resume to all those recruiters, but I passed by JPL, and I was like, what is this? I was like, because I'd never heard of JPL before, up to that point.
Yeah.
And so I walk up and I start talking to the recruiter, and I give him my resume. And at that time, I actually had a really good GPA. It was like almost a 4.0. I think I like had one like B+ or something like that. And the recruiter was like, oh wow, like this is a really good resume. Like, and so she started talking to me more. And then after that, I was like, wow, I had a really good conversation with that person. And then that's when I walked into the Chavez Center.
Yeah, for sure. and sure enough, look at you now, huh? So
yeah,
that was good. Yeah.
It was very happenstance, and when they called me back for the interview, I had to do the research of what was JPL and everything, because I had no idea what they did.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, this is all right. It's not airplanes, but this is pretty cool.
It's the next best thing. Huh?
Do you still have dreams about actually going back one day into the Boeings or the Northrops and building the design airplanes?
Maybe. So I work in integration and test, and so I think a lot of what I do is pretty cross-platform. From putting together a very complex spacecraft going to another planet to putting together a very complex aircraft, that's just going to fly around or something. And so, and I've also I've completely changed my skill set overall, right? I'm doing nothing that involves mechanical engineering overall.
Yeah.
I'm doing all electrical and for the most part, and a lot of software, hardware testing, embedded hardware testing. And so it's an interesting change, but I really like it, and it that's where the strong math background really helped me out, because at the end of the day, regardless of the different engineering disciplines, the math is the same. The formulas are very similar, and so the math follows those formulas.
Yeah,
that's the universal language, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting you mentioned that, because so with testing and that's very transferable to pretty much anything, like you said. And so you're right. You can, if tomorrow you decided to, I want to go work on some other projects that are not space related. Yeah, you just shoot out your resume around, and I'm sure right away you'll get a response. So I guess now that we know how you got to work at JPL or NASA, right, we wanted to ask you some questions on just your time working there and how, just details about that. So the first question we have is, so how long have you been working at JPL?
So now it's been 14 years almost.
14 years, wow.
Almost,
cool.
yeah.
You're a veteran, huh?
Yeah. So you got the senior title now?
Yeah.
I'm at level 4 now. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have the authority to send the intern to get coffee.
Yes, supreme authority.
Yeah.
Although I try not to do that.
Yeah. So okay. So you worked there for 14 years, and we know that you do verification, integration, testing, and what type of projects have you worked on within the last 14 years?
Oh yeah, I've had the opportunity to work on a good number of projects. I started off on Curiosity, which is essentially the rover before Perseverance that landed on Mars. And right there, I started on the systems testbed team. So this is where we take all the internal parts of the robot and kind of throw them out on a table and try and break it, really take it to the limit. Because you don't want to do that on the flight vehicle. You don't want to test things to the limit on the flight vehicle. So you treat that with kid gloves and make sure that you only stress it just enough, right, to meet the requirements.
You have to wear those the white suits, the clean room outfit. Yeah.
Yeah, that's when we start working with the flight vehicle, we have to be fully gowned up. For the most part, in the test bed, you really just wear a smock, because you don't have to be really that clean. You wear a smock for only for ESD purposes.
Yeah.
Because those smocks.
So what's the purpose of wearing the full on outfit?
It's to prevent contaminants from us. So when you're in the clean room, the dirtiest thing in any clean room is a human, and so because we're just constantly shedding particles all the time, hairs and everything, and skin cells, and so the purpose of wearing that bunny suit is to keep our surface contaminants from getting onto the spacecraft as best possible, because we're sending the rovers in particular, we're sending them to space to find life, and so we don't want to take life with us, and so we try and be as clean as possible.
Yeah.
What's the cleanest clean room you have then?
I'd say it's the sample caching clean room that we have, and it's where they kind of develop the coring drill for Perseverance, and they have some very strict protocols there, like triple gloves, and it's just
oh my gosh,
yeah.
like a 5K or something, or 20.
Yeah, people are super clean because they're trying to keep things, well, at least when they were developing the sterile tubes for everything, they were just being super clean about everything, I'm not sure now if they're still being as like clean in terms of, but they probably still have a lot of sterile tubes that they've just kind of like allocated, and they're really clean, and we can use them for a future mission at some point.
Yeah, nice.
So can you describe the site a little bit? I think we've all been there a few times, but from what I've seen, there's a machine shop, there's probably an electronic shop. Maybe build your own cables and do the full integration testing.
Yeah, JPL is like a little, it's the size of Disneyland. So we've got a lot of things that can be like built in house and stuff, and we do a lot of work in house. But we also contract out a lot of work to small vendors that are within the local community and things like that. So it's and with other big companies as well. We partner up with the Lockheeds and all the different companies that do space as well. Like Psyche is actually a partnership with a company called Maxar, and so we're working in conjunction with them to get that built.
Oh, cool. Yeah, very cool. So you worked on the latest rover that went to Mars.
Yes, that's
congratulations, by the way.
Thanks. And that was the latest ATLO campaign is what. So I work in the assembly, test, and launch operations group at JPL, and so the ATLO group. And so what we do is we build the spacecraft. We get it all put together. We test it. We put it. We shake it. We bake it. Put it through all its environmental tests, and then launch it. And so that's kind of like our main job. So. Yeah.
Very cool.
Can you talk a little bit about the life cycle of the mission, like from start to finish, development? Launch, support.
Yeah, I mean, especially for like these Mars missions, you're probably looking at like a 10-year life cycle overall, from the proposal kind of inception phase, where it's like people are just thinking about what they want to do and the kind of science that they want to accomplish, and so. And a lot of the science, like the proposals that we develop, are based on this thing called the Decadal Survey, which is an actual survey that's done every 10 years with like the most prominent physicists and the brightest minds out there to like come up with an overall roadmap of the things that we want to study out in the universe. Right, like, do we want to like focus on X-rays, right? Because unfortunately, budget is really tight for space exploration, and so they have to set these roadmaps for like targets, and then based on that, proposals are chosen that most adequately meet to like get us in line with the roadmap.
Cool. So we've been sending rovers over to Mars. So what's the end goal, or at least that you know of? What's the end goal of doing all this exploration in Mars?
Why the fascination with Mars?
I don't know. That's a great question. I mean, if you look back in history, human beings have been fascinated with just celestial objects in general. Go back, countless cultures, right? The Mayans, like just in Latin America alone, just how. And we just keep finding out more about just how in tune they were with celestial objects and how well they understood the periodicity of life and like the Earth. And so and we're starting to kind of appreciate that as well overall. And so we've always been fascinated with Mars, would be my statement. We've always been really fascinated with kind of understanding what's out there. And so I think it just scratches that itch of exploration and kind of being at the frontier.
And do you think in our lipetime we'll have an encampment out there in Mars?
I think so. Honestly, I think so. In like maybe about 20 years, I think you could probably, it'd be a one-way ticket.
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
One-way ticket. Yeah.
Yeah. So as long as they have my grave out there, you're ready.
It's a one-way ticket. You're not coming back.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to do it, and the thing about humans is there's always those that are down.
Living that YOLO life, right?
Yeah, it's like, I'm down, let's go.
I think as we all know, SpaceX is probably pretty close to getting up there very soon.
Yeah, I mean they're working on their Starship project, and I mean I think they've hit a few hiccups recently, but it's a complex task that they're taking on. And so that starship design, I believe, is kind of based on an old design that was like an old concept from like the 60s.
That's my understanding, that a lot of the technology that SpaceX uses it's proven technology. Yeah. It's proven, and it's
makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So. What they did is they kind of just they optimized things a lot better, and they really streamlined the process.
Yeah. Well, they started off as a brand new company, so they have not too many processes or procedures in place that have tripped them up. So they're just streamlining now, which is good for them.
Yeah. And obviously they're collaborating with NASA now. So.
Oh yeah, actually, the mission that I'm currently working on, Psyche, to go study an asteroid, is going to launch off of Falcon Heavy.
Oh, so cool.
That's going to be cool.
Yeah. What's the launch date?
August 22nd.
This year?
Oh, okay.
Next year, yeah. It's coming up soon. Yeah. Okay.
Next
year.
Well, what stage of the build are you guys in right now?
We're getting we're just starting the ATLO campaign. So the ATLO campaigns are usually like, you're looking at 12 to like maybe 2-year campaigns, depending on the project. Okay. The rover was about almost 2 years. It was just a very long ATLO campaign. Yeah. We start with like a shell of like a rover and a shell of everything, and just like slowly pieces start showing up and we start putting them on.
Yeah. And so during your time working, as an engineer, what type of obstacles did you encounter that you weren't expecting, You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure.
No, absolutely. I think overall it was probably first and foremost like just underestimating myself.
Yeah.
And kind of and having that as a hindrance, and so and also I was not a very eloquent public speaker in any way when I graduated college, and so that was something that I also had to work on as well. I mean, I took Toastmasters classes and kind of different public speaking classes to be able to overcome that, just because working at JPL gives you a platform. And so I thought it'd be a shame if I didn't use it to help people out.
I think it's a misconception that a lot of people have that engineers are not very good communicators, and I think that's the opposite. You have to be very good at communicating. You have to have really good writing skills, and because that's really your job, right? To communicate how to develop.
Partially, but you, like, we've all read manuals, right? And so and so how well do they communicate instructions? So it's like it's about getting that balance of how do you convey just enough information based on the audience that you're speaking to.
And then it takes practice too. I mean, when you start off, unless you're naturally gifted at speaking, it's going to take.
Some people are, and
they are.
And that's the thing. Like you have to find out what your weaknesses are and work at them.
Yeah, I guess the key is to identify them and say, I need to work on this, and actually go after it.
Yeah, well, you can't fix something that you don't recognize, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
It looks right to you, so. Yeah, and so the other question I have for you, Luis, is over the last few years, I've noticed that there's more of a mixture or there's more of an insurgence of women going into the STEM field. Do you see that too at NASA or JPL?
Yeah, absolutely. There was several times that I was in meetings for when we were building Perseverance, where I was, the only guy in the room.
Oh, that's good. That's definitely good news. I think it was about time. I wish that it would have came when we were going to school.
It would have been nice to have that.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, there was.
I do know how it works. Yeah, a lot more girls walking around, and these girls are killing it too. So
yeah. So that's good to hear that it's across the industry and just in general in engineering that we're shifting towards a more equal environment.
Yeah, well, in general, right? You just want people of different experiences to actually be able to come up with good ideas.
Yeah.
Like good crazy ideas, right? If you're like, if you're trying to design something that's pretty outrageous, you want to have some crazy ideas. like the sky crane maneuver that they did for landing the rover.
Yeah,
it's like it's pretty wild to think about, but that was pretty much the only way that they could have done it.
Yeah.
I always wonder, like in a meeting like that, when they pitch that idea for the first time, you know, how many people are like, "That's not gonna work."
Like, who's this guy?
I was definitely thinking outside the box.
Yeah, no.
And then
because
go ahead.
the previous rovers had been landed with the airbags, so it wasn't gonna work for the 1-ton rover.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And
So,
the other, go ahead.
Fernando, is that the one we saw? I think it was supposed to be one of our propulsion teachers. We went out to JPL. We saw the actual structure being designed. Is this?
I think I'm not too sure, to be honest. It was a while ago. Yeah. So, yeah. But the other question we wanted to ask you is, working with so many intelligent people, do you ever leave work and then encounter people that may not be so intelligent, and because you get that tunnel vision, you're just like, what the hell, like
why are you not understanding me?
Yeah.
I generally believe that genius is everywhere, and definitely there is ignorance out there. But it's, you just have to be able to understand who your audience is, and effectively communicate it. Sometimes you gotta make things simpler, and so I mean that can be one of the difficulties that I think engineers can have, right, when they're trying to communicate things, is how do you simplify things down to something that someone else could understand.
Yeah, good point. Yeah, I think one of my professors once said, when I was doing my master's, was so he was working on a project for one of the customers, one of the Department of Defense, I think it was the Air Force or the Army. And so they initially came in and talked all this technical jargon, and these commanders and captains, and they don't know, right? They don't know what this is. So they were just like, we don't think your idea is great. But then they shifted their presentation over to parameters that really matter to these guys, like the certain ratios for like kill ratios and whatnot. And then all of a sudden they started paying attention, and they really liked the idea just because of the shift in the way that they were being communicated, the solution.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Marketing,
there we go.
Yeah, it's something that you don't think about, but it's like, I'm not good at marketing. It's something that I've wanted to get better at. Like I don't really post a lot on social media and things like that and stuff. So it's I find it a bit annoying to post on social media, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I think that's the engineer in us. If I don't have to post something that's going to benefit me, I'm not gonna do it.
I'd say I'm like an introverted extrovert, I guess. I don't know. I just like it's funny. I joke around with my little brother. Likes to play video games, and he likes playing like massive multiplayer, with big groups. And I'm like, nah, man, I'm antisocial even in my gaming. I like to play by myself.
Single player games.
Single player games only.
Playing solitaire over there.
Solitaire, yeah.
Yeah. So do you see yourself as working at JPL for like forever? Or for
honestly, probably. I have I'm pretty well known at JPL, and I have good opportunities, and the work's always fascinating. I jumped from working on a rover to now working on building a spacecraft that's going to go study an asteroid that might have been a remnant of a planet that could have been in the asteroid belt. So it's there's not a lot of places where I'd be able to do that.
Yeah.
And as far as you said, funding is hard to come by. It's limited, but we can be confident that we're always going to want to fund a site like JPL for exploration.
Yeah, absolutely. And Yeah, and as usual, probably with the success will come more funding. I mean, when we landed Curiosity, you know, projects started showing up all over the place, and as you show that you have, you know, the chops, basically, the projects show up.
And I think also there was quite a few movies that came out, right?
yeah. The Martian.
Yeah, the Martian. So that, I'm sure that's good publicity.
That one was crazy when it came out, because it came out just like right before there was going to be an open house, and that open house was wild. Like you had people who were coming down the arroyo, like just like, and they were like coming up to the gates, like trying to like.
Like a mob.
Bro, it was crazy how many people went that time, and then that's why they instituted like a little ticket now. So there's just so many people that want to go that they have to like. We can't have everyone all at the same time.
But you know, Luis, I don't know if Berto attests to this, but when I was young, I watched Apollo 13, and then from there I started watching all these movies that were about like space, and that really like triggered me to like want to know more about it. So now thinking about it, all these kids that are watching these movies and seeing all these missions that you're part of, is they're going to be growing up to be the next generation, you know, engineers working for like NASA and maybe even public companies that are going to do space exploration too. So that's really nice to think about that.
Absolutely. Space is we'll see.
The future.
But it looks like space is good.
I think.
Yeah. It looks like it will be.
Can you describe a typical day for you?
It's all over the place. Because like I said, I straddle the line between electrical, like, you know, doing electrical and software testing. So sometimes I'm, you know, writing some code for something, you know, all day. And I just like, I feel like when you get into coding, you go in like spurts, and then and you do a bunch of coding, and then you're like, okay, I kind of want to chill for a bit now. And so it varies from like you know, I'm out there writing programs to, and I'm also I'm a lead, so I've also got folks working for me that I'm kind of telling to you know, go work on this project, go work on this. And all with the mindset of we're just getting ready to start building this spacecraft, and so we've got to get all our documentation ready. You know, we've got to get make sure that everything's all the, you know, I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, because it's not, you don't have a lot of time, and I work ATLO, like I said, and ATLO campaigns for space missions where especially like space missions that have a deadline. Like if we don't launch within a certain launch window, then, you know, we're screwed. We got to wait 18, you know, 24 months depending on where we're trying to go. Maybe even longer, right? Some you know, are just like once in a lifetime opportunities, right? To like, okay, if you launch now, or you're never launching again. And so you have like this horizon that you have to hit. You have a milestone that you have to hit, and it's not moving. But everything always shows up late. Right. And so like that's the one thing you learn, like, you know, working INT is like things never show up on time, and they never work right the first time.
And if it can go wrong, it will go wrong, right?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
So you mentioned obviously a couple of times that you worked a lot with software development and electrical engineering. So thinking back in retrospect, would you, if you could go back, if you can get on the DeLorean and go back in time to talk to your younger self, would you tell your younger self, you know what, study electrical engineering or
No. Actually, no. I thought about this for a while. Someone asked me once, and then I was like, okay, I would go back and study physics.
Huh. Interesting.
Because it is the backbone of everything. And
because you like the science of it, or what is it?
I like the science, and if you understand the physics, you can understand engineering. Because I mean, engineering in general is, you know, an application of, you know, physical sciences, of physics. Yeah. And so it's the application of a lot of those principles. Some of them are pretty wild, and we haven't figured out how to apply them, right? Like in the quantum world and things like that. We're still trying to figure that out. But that's like I feel like I that was such an esoteric kind of career opportunity to me, right? Like it didn't seem like something that I would do. Like, you know, like if someone told me, hey, you should be a physicist, I'd be like, nah, man, that's Albert Einstein. You're crazy, bro. Like there's no way I could be like him. You crazy, man. And it's like I mean, that's a bad thing, right? It's you shouldn't hold yourself back like that. I mean, be realistic, definitely, but don't sell yourself short.
Yeah, definitely.
So how do you convey that message? How do you convey that message to that, you know, 8-year-old version of you that says, okay, go be a physicist, but then you think, well, I can't do it.
Well, I think it would have more so been the idea of just maybe seeing what a normal physicist look like, or having an idea of what a normal physicist is, right? Because the only physicist that I would know even as a child, right, would be like Albert Einstein, you know, Isaac Newton's, like those the big heavyweights, right? And so you don't get the idea that, you know, a lot of physicists are just normal people out there, and that you could be one too.
You know, and you bring up a good point that coming from underserved communities, a lot of the time we don't know what a person that does engineering or what a person that does sciences or a politician really looks like, or how they are. So it's a
what it takes.
Yeah, it's a foreign subject to you, right? It's just like you said, you look up, you read it up on a book, and you're like, okay, so a scientist or a physicist is someone like Albert Einstein, right? And that guy was like a super genius.
Yeah, and like I can't be that. Like, sure. let's keep it 100. And then it's like, and so the idea is like, I think, you know, you just have to make it more apparent that it is an option, and that is a viable option, especially because it's something like physics, right? It's not it doesn't seem like something that you could get a job to, you could get a job as with a physics degree. Oh, okay, you know how to study physics. But in general, you could actually, if you take physics and you work the course load, and you know, if you're directed in a particular direction, you'll do fine anywhere you go, and then you have the backbone to learn a lot of the other stuff.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, definitely. And so it also brings me to my next point, which is I think it's super important as a young kid to have mentorship and guidance. So do you do any type of extracurricular activities, I guess, to help out the community? Or
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I try and do as many talks as I have the time to. I get pretty busy, and I tend to overload myself. I guess I like to say yes to a lot of things, and so you know, I'm part of the SHIP Los Angeles Professional Chapter Board, and so that eats up a little bit of time, and so and then work is just crazy.
And then your home life, and you're trying to balance everything out, right?
Yeah. It's all nuts.
Totally agree with you.
But it's, you know, it's I don't know if I could. I like being under pressure, so it's fun. I mean, that's also why I do Atlo. I mean, if I wanted something more chill, I could probably get a more chill position, but it's what I really like, and what I find really fun. I find it fun to like find a problem, and then like, okay, I'm gonna go and figure out how to fix this problem, and you know, and then we can keep building this spacecraft.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to have a bunch of challenges on your plate, because then you're gonna try to meet them all, as opposed to just having one and then only doing the one. So it's a pretty good mindset.
Yeah, and then I guess so that kind of takes us to our last question, which is for our young and old and new and viewers or listeners that are, I guess, interested in one day working at an agency like NASA or anything like that. Do you have any suggestions or tips for them? Anything they should avoid?
Definitely. Live your life with courage, curiosity, tenacity, and a healthy dose of altruism. If you do those 4 things, it doesn't matter what you're interested or what your interests are and what you're passionate about. Like you'll do well, and the people around you will do well. And so that's how things get done.
Mm-hmm.
That's great advice, actually.
Yeah,
I might print that out and put it on my board.
Yeah, there we go.
So
Cool.
does that conclude the question segment?
Yeah, the question stuff. So Luis, I didn't mention this to you, but one of the things that we have a closing segment, and so we come up with jokes and pickup lines based on the theme of the day. So today the theme is NASA and space exploration. So we'll go ahead and give you some jokes and pickup lines, and then you can give us like a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
usually mostly thumbs down.
Yeah, and I don't know why we still have this segment as part of the whole show, but we'll continue it as far as we can. And
sounds good.
Yeah, you want to do the first one?
No, you do the first one.
Okay, so the first one is so Luis, NASA is currently investigating why Mars used to be warm and now it's wet, and wet, and now it's dry and cold, and so my guess is that it's 5 to 10 years of marriage that's causing that. That was a really bad one.
That's why I told you to take that one, dude.
Yeah. So I'll give that one a thumbs down for you.
Thanks.
All right, next one. So NASA's currently developing a way to grow cashews on the moon soil. We're calling them astronauts.
Okay, is there like a
Yeah, there we go. And then the next one is how does NASA start a party? They plan it.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Thumbs up.
There we go. Good. Hey, you see, we're getting better at this, Berto.
So 2 out of 10 so far.
Yeah.
Okay. What grade did the NASA employee get on their exam? A T-.
Yeah.
I take that one back.
No. They're corny.
Yeah,
but,
they're corny.
they
there
work.
We go.
They work. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta keep them PG, right? All right.